Nostr is a decentralized social protocol layer that helps to alleviate some of the problems we've seen with censorship and control over our current social media platforms. While it's not directly related to Bitcoin, its infrastructure and the way it's built lends itself to easy integration with wallet software and things like the Lightning Network. Today we're going to be taking a look at how you can get started interacting with Nostr. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we get started, quick shout out to sponsors of the show, CoinKite.com. These guys have the best hardware in the game. I love my Cold Card Mark IV for securing my Bitcoin stack, but they've got tons of other stuff here. They've got their open dimes, they've got their block clock, they've got their Sats cards and tap signers, all the NFC solutions that they've been working on, and a ton of great merch as well. Be sure to check out CoinKite.com and use code BTC Sessions for 5% off at checkout. Up next, we have Start9, your sovereign computing solution. I've done a full tutorial on how to build your Bitcoin stack on a Start9 embassy, which includes things like running Bitcoin Core, a Lightning node, mempool, and a ton of other applications that can help you be more sovereign when it comes to Bitcoin. But that's not the only thing the embassy is good for. You can host your digital life on this thing. You can get things like passwords, files, pictures, pretty much everything out of the hands of corporations, and you can own that data yourself. So check out start9.com for an Embassy One or an Embassy Pro if you're looking for something super beefy to host your digital presence on. Up next, if you are stacking sats and you have a few priorities like peer-to-peer trading, self-custody from the get-go, and no KYC, then HodlHodl is the place for you. You can go here and you can sign up with nothing more than an email address, and you can be trading peer-to-peer, stacking non-KYC sats in just minutes. I've done a full tutorial on how to use HodlHodl. You can check them out now with the link down below. And they also do have a lending platform, so if you're looking to earn a little bit of extra on your Bitcoin or stable coins, and you don't want your coins to ever be rehypothecated, well, that's the place to go. So check them out, hodlhodl.com. Link is down below. And finally, if you're backing up any important Bitcoin wallet, you don't want to just have that seed phrase sitting on paper, because then you open yourself up to things like fire damage and water damage. And in a pinch, you don't want to find out that your seed phrase is no more. So I have been backing up my important wallets on the Billfodl, a solid steel hunk of metal where you can get your seed phrase in there, and then you don't have to worry about the things I mentioned before. Check out privacypros.io/BTC Sessions for a little kickback at checkout, and yeah, get that peace of mind here. So let's talk prerequisites. What are you gonna need to know in order to make your way through this tutorial? And in general, you're not gonna need a lot. There is one thing I'm gonna be utilizing, which I've covered before. And if you're unfamiliar or if you haven't used it, then maybe go back and check out the tutorial or just download the application into your browser, but it is something called Alby. And this is a Bitcoin Lightning plugin that can go into your Chrome or Firefox browser, and it just allows you to interact, generate keys, do all kinds of stuff on the Lightning Network. But actually, they've built a plugin for Nostr to generate those keys as well. That sounds like Greek to you. Just go check out the Alby tutorial, look at it as a Bitcoin tool, and then just know that it'll transfer over here. Other than that, your general knowledge doesn't have to be a lot. Some of this will be new to you, but we're going to be starting from scratch anyways. A knowledge of public and private keys wouldn't be a bad thing to have. So when you back up your Bitcoin wallet and you write down your words, that is your private key, and you know that you don't want to share that information with anybody, and you know that that key can help you approve transactions on the Bitcoin network. The same general concepts apply to Nostr, in that you have a public and a private key. The private key you don't want to share with anybody, and it helps you, instead of sign transactions, it helps you sign messages and verify that they're from you, in fact. So that general knowledge is good to have. And then at the end, I'm going to be touching on something that you don't need to dive into, but I'm going to be doing it in a way, just an easy way to do it that is in beta via my Start9 embassy. So if you're running an embassy, fantastic. You can try it out, but again, just know that it is in beta. I'll give these warnings again when I get into it. And so it's kind of relatively untested. Things could go wrong there. But just as a demo, I don't think I've seen this implemented in any of the other node options out there as of recording this video, but I would not be surprised to see it hitting other implementations in the future. So just maybe take a look at that section and store it in your brain for later if you decide to run the applications that I'm going to show. Other than that, you don't really need anything else. So I'd say the number one thing is grab Alby or get Alby. Go to getalby.com and you can download a browser extension, and then you'll be pretty much set for this tutorial. So let's start then with what is Nostr? How does it differ from the way that regular social media platforms work? Well, there are kind of three different things to hone in on with Nostr. There are keys or key pairs, there are clients, and there are relays. And I'm going to discuss what these are. But we know that typical social media platforms, you have a login with a password, and all your data is hosted by somebody else. And if that company or whatever decides that they don't want you on the platform, or they don't like a particular post that you've made, well, they can just shut it off, delete your account, delete your post, censor your post, throttle it, whatever. And that's kind of that. And so that's kind of the issues that are being addressed here. So first up, let's discuss keys. So what are your keys, or what is your key pair? So a key pair, again, I talked about this in the prerequisites, but it is a public key and a private key. Now, the public key is how people find you, how people know who you are. It is associated with you either anonymously, or you can verify yourself through other platforms to say, hey, this is me, I'm on Nostr now. You'll see a little bit of that. But basically, that's how people publicly find you and associate with you, and it's your digital identity. You can have multiple digital identities if you so please, and they can be as anonymous as you like. The private key is what verifies that the messages are coming from you. All right. So whenever you post something, whenever you reply to somebody, whenever you put up a link to something, the private key is what signs that. It's like a little signature saying, hey, this is Ben sent this message officially from his private key, and we can cryptographically verify it was him, or it was somebody who had access to those keys. And the reason I say that is, as with Bitcoin, and I mentioned this again in the prerequisites, you don't want anybody to gain access to your private keys, because then they can effectively be you. All right, they can say things as you, and it's almost a little bit worse in terms of if something happens where your private key gets out and somebody else has it. There's no way to like do a reset on that and say, oh, hey, we'll revoke it from that person and this account is now back in my control. It's not like those centralized platforms where they can be like, oh, geez, somebody else got access to this account and they've proven it, and we'll just do a password reset. It's not how it works. Once those keys are out there, anybody can copy them, share them with whoever they like. And so it's important to know that the only recourse when you've leaked your private keys to somebody is to create an entirely new account, and effectively say, hey, this old one is burned. I'm over here now. Okay. And so with that, people have to reconnect with you, so on and so forth. Now, the other thing to mention, and this will get us into the next part, is that these keys can exist across multiple different clients. So I mentioned the word clients. What is a client? Well, think of it as an interface to interact with your social friends or your contacts. Okay, so we have things like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these different things. And you follow people, or you are friends with people, or whatever it may be, whatever the terminology is. You have connections with other individuals. However, if you are on Twitter and then you jump over to Facebook, or if you're on Instagram and you jump over to TikTok, those connections don't remain constant because they're all managed by different centralized entities. With Nostr, your key is you, and those connections remain constant regardless of the platform or the client that you are using. So different clients can do different things. Maybe one client allows you to post certain types of messages and videos and all these different things, and maybe another client allows you to post full blogs and all these other different types of things. Every contact, every follow that you make with your key pair remains constant no matter where you go. And all you really need to interact with those people and what they're doing is that initial connection. And regardless of what platform you're on, you'll be able to kind of, assuming the platform supports that type of content, you'll be able to see what they're doing, what they're up to, and you don't need to reestablish connections every time you jump to a different type of platform. You already have those connections between you and those individuals, no matter where you go. Okay, so if there's a new up and coming social platform or client in Nostr, you don't need to start fresh and say, hey, this is my account, go over here, you can follow me there as well. It's no, I'm using this account. Great. Everybody who's already following you on Nostr and on whatever other client you're using is instantly following you over there as well, and vice versa. So the clients are basically just interfaces like websites, like different social media platforms in which you can interact in potentially different ways and may have different features. Finally, there are relays. Relays is where the data actually gets stored. And so you don't have to be running a relay as an individual. All you need is a key pair and a client, and then you can start interacting on Nostr. But some people run relays, and that's where data is hosted. Every time you post a stream of thought, every time you say, hey, it's me, I'm on Nostr, and I want to say tweet that out, but you when you make a post, when there's an event is how they're referred to. When you post an event and you say something or post a link or whatever it may be, that data gets stored on a relay. And right now, there isn't a direct incentive to host relays. However, because of the simplification of the protocol, you can feasibly in the future, as a relay runner, you could have a charge for people to host data with you. And that can be integrated with things like the Lightning Network, which we'll see examples of as we dive in. So basically, key pair is who are you and how do you verify that you've said anything? The client is the interface that you're using to interact with others. What types of content are you posting and where are you posting it? And regardless, it's going to be available across various types of clients. The relay is where the data is actually held, and it can be held across multiple relays. Typically, as a Nostr user, you will connect to many different relays, 3, 4, 5, 10, and your data in that instance may be redundant across multiple relays in some instances. So that's it. Keys, clients, relays. Let's see how this stuff works. Let's dive into starting up and getting a key pair. I want to insert a little caveat here. I am by no means an expert on Nostr. This is my initial foray into using it, and this is my current understanding. So if I misspeak throughout this thing, if I have a little bit of wrong information, I do apologize. I'm doing my best to kind of wrap my head around it, just like a lot of people are right now. And who knows, this information could be outdated because Nostr can perhaps evolve and be capable of many more things very, very quickly. It's moving at breakneck speed. So yeah, you know, hopefully this gets you started, but don't take this as gospel in your learning. So first up, what you're going to want to do, if you have not already, is you're going to add Alby to your browser. So this is an example here in Firefox. If you want to get there, you just go to your menu and you go to add-ons and themes. There's also a page in Google Chrome to add Alby to your browser as an extension. So I'm going to hit add to Firefox here, and it will just add. I'll hit OK. We'll hit get started. And then at this point, you can create, and it'll suggest passwords. I'm not going to use this password here, but you can suggest, or you can set an unlocked password, create a Lightning account, and so on and so forth. We'll just go through that process here. First, I'll do my password, and then we'll jump ahead. At this point, if you want the simplest option, you can go with the just Alby. It's just a custodial Lightning wallet. However, if you want to connect other wallets, you can also do that as well. And these would be ones that you yourself control. I shouldn't say that entirely. There are some custodial options here as well. But if you're running a Lightning node, or you have a Light node on your phone or something like that, then you have those options here as well. We'll just do a simple sign up here, and I'll use another email address that I have as well. All right, so I kind of showed you what the setup process for Alby is. I jumped over to my Chrome browser to show you the one that I actually have set up for myself. So I've got Alby up here in the top right. I've obviously previously done some transactions on this one. And if I want to get to the settings, then I go to this little sandwich board over here, and I hit settings. At this point, they have a new plugin for Alby that allows you to generate keys. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Now you can see I already have a private key in here, but if there is not an existing private key, there will be a button off to the right here that says generate. Okay, and when you hit generate, it will create a private key for you, which will now be your Nostr private key that can be used with various clients. So that's pretty much all you need here. Now, caveat with the private key. It is best if you do not go copying and pasting your private key everywhere. So we'll see how it works with various clients as we utilize Alby to log in and post things and approve posts and everything. But ideally, like if I were to hit this little eyeball here, I'd be able to see what the private key is. I could then highlight it, copy it, and paste it in other clients. But then it's kind of stored in a whole bunch of different locations. It's less secure. It gets kept in your browser's history. It's not as good. Now, it's still hot, I should say. Like, it's on a device that's connected to the internet. So, you know, there's a degree of risk there. I'm sure that there will be things moving forward where you can sign with an actual device if you see fit, so on and so forth. But for the time being, this is why we're using this browser extension, so that our key can be in a single location and we can approve things with a prompt from Alby every time we need to. So anyways, that's it. That's how you generate your private key. And then we'll go on and we'll see about how to get your public key, which is how people identify you and find you. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's all we need from Alby. That's pretty much done and ready to go. So here we are on a website or a client, a web client for Nostr called astral.ninja, ASTRAL.ninja. And this is where we would log in. Right now, there's no user designated. So if I X out of this little pop-up that allows us to log in, this is just like a global feed of people posting and saying various things and, you know, links to pictures and whatever they may be doing on here. This is, again, just a global feed. You can even see lightning invoices and stuff popping up, which is kind of cool. But nonetheless, this is just a very simplistic feed. So if I want to set the user, and you can log in with various different keys, you can have different, different clients using different keys and different personas, whatever it may be. But we want to use the key that we just generated in Alby. So if you don't get the pop-up right away, just hit set user, and then you can enter your key here. It says public key or private key. You can enter the private key. This is where you would paste it in, but best not to be pasting, as I said. Or you can generate new keys and just tinker with it here and not use Alby yet. You're just maybe learning. Or you can use public key from extension. And that's what we want to do because we want to use Alby, our extension. So I'm going to click that. Now this is going to show a pop-up. Now it was full screen before, which is why it's taken up the full screen, but it might be a smaller pop-up for you. It says, hey, do you want to allow this website to read your public key? And I'm going to hit confirm. Okay, so it says, here's your public key and here's your selected relays, which you won't have yet, but I will show you how to do that. Because I've used this account before, obviously. You can take a look. So here's your public key right here. You could just hit proceed. Down below, it says enter bootstrap relays. These would be relays that are hosting data that you can connect to. You can hit plus on any of these down below. So let's just say I had no selected relays here. Maybe I want to use this relay right here. Why? I don't know. Because I do. So I just hit the plus and it'll pop up into my selected relays. All right. If I have a relay that I'm running myself, this is where I might hit the plus button and paste in the appropriate information for it here. Not going to do that right now. We'll take a look at that later. So that's it. I have my relays. You don't really need to even deal with that. As long as you have some relays listed in here, you should be all right. And then I'm just going to hit proceed. Okay, it says your private key is not here. Posts are published using your private key. Others can see your posts or follow you using your public key. All right, and this is the public key here down below, npub. That's the one that most people are using right now, that people will then use to follow you. You can also get other ways of identifying you, which we'll get into momentarily, but that's the general information there. Our private key is not present because it's not hosted on Astral.Ninja. It is hosted in our Alby extension. So whenever we go to sign, it'll say, hey, do you want to sign this or post this and sign it with your extension? And we say yes. Okay. All right. So there's right now we're in settings, and this has all of our different information. You can hit edit here or in any other interface that you use with Nostr and update your information. So any client will allow you to do this, and the changes that you post here will take place across every single client that you deal with. So if your screen name is, like mine is btcsessions, when I change that, it doesn't only change here on Astral.Ninja, it changes on every interface that I deal with Nostr. Okay, so keep that in mind. Same with the about, the picture URL, the identifier, which we'll learn what that is in a minute, lightning address, all that stuff changes, and those changes as I set them are available everywhere. Okay, so how do you get this stuff? Let's just hit the edit button for a second. Now, we have this URL here. Basically, I just found a picture online hosted through like on my website, but you can upload pictures really anywhere. And if you open the picture as its own window and copy the URL, you can just paste it in here. Now, the one that I posted, it looks good on a couple instances, but it looks kind of weird here. It's kind of condensed. So I'm going to go find another image that I've uploaded, and then I'll post it here, and we'll see how that looks. All right, so here's one of my logos that I put up on imgur.com. And this is just a free website where you can upload images so that you can link to them elsewhere. So all I'm going to do is I'm on this particular image. I am going to hit grab link, and that'll copy this right here. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to jump over to Astral, and let's change out that link. We'll post this, and we'll just hit save. And then it says, hey, do you want to sign this? Can we approve this? It automatically knows that we need to sign this with Alby. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit confirm. Okay. Now, you know, learning as we go. Let's do a little refresh here and see if that image does show. We'll hit close. And sometimes it takes a moment to fill. Now that link, sometimes you'll find that links don't work. So here we go. I'm going to find another one, post it in until we get something that works.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I found a link that worked. Anyways, you might need to play around with your source of image a little bit, but there are various image hosting websites that you can link to, and this one seems to be working just fine. Now, below here, you have some preferences. You can change your color scheme and all of that. I'm going to edit that right now and change it to, yeah, that's a little bit better. All right. So you can also change things like the font and do whatever you like there. Let's do Ubuntu font. That looks good. I'll just hit save there. Okay. Down below, again, you see your relays. Who are you connected to? You can edit this and add relays as you like. And again, reminder, that's where your data is actually stored and where it's shared to, and where you pull data in order to see other people's posts as well. So if you're not seeing certain things that you feel you should, then that's could be the problem. You might need to add a relay or something like that. Over here on the right is people that I'm currently following. You will not be following anybody initially. And so what you'll probably want to do at the gate is jump over to your feed. And so this, again, this applies primarily just to Astral.Ninja. It's going to be different depending on the client that you're using. But let's go to global. So global means like all the posts happening on Nostr. Okay, so these are just, and you can see load 2 unread. 2 more just happened as I'm talking right now. And so you may be looking to follow certain people that you just see in the global set here. So let's say I look over at Sat's Godzilla and I see him and I'm like, okay, maybe I wouldn't mind following this person. Well, there's a little follow button up here. And now it says, hey, do you want to confirm this? Do you want to follow this person? I sign it with Alby, and there we go. Now I'm following them. Okay, updated published list of followed keys and relays. Perfect. And so that person would now show in my follows over here. Now, if somebody does have an npub that or a public key that I would like to follow, and I don't just see them on my feed here, well, then I can actually look them up. So I'm going to show an example of that, somebody posting their public key on Twitter as like a verification, and then we'll search them up here and try to find them. All right, so here on Twitter, somebody has done an account verification, which we'll get into in a little bit. It says verifying my account on Nostr, and this is his public key. npub 1QEX, so, you know, big jumble of digits. So I just double clicked it. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to jump back over to Astral. I'm going to paste in that npub is what it's called, and I'm going to search. And it brings up his profile, to which I can then follow. It will ask to sign that decision. Do you approve this with your private key? Hit confirm. There we go. I'm now following Mandrick, and he will pop up in my list of follows, and his posts whenever he makes them, will show up in it'll show up in global because that's everybody, but it'll show up on my feed under follows. Okay, it'll show up as people that I'm currently following and what they're up to. So that is how you find people on Nostr. Now there's another way to find them as well, and that would be a NIP05 identifier. NIP stands for Nostr Improvement Proposal, I believe. Nostr Improvement Proposal, I think. And basically it is a way of identifying an individual with something that looks like an email address. And I do have one here, btcsessions@nostrplebs.com. So that is another way that somebody can search me up. And let's take a look at what that might look like. I'll find another person who does have, again, a NIP05 identifier that we can search. All right, so here's somebody posting on Twitter saying, hey, I just created a NIP05 identifier. And I can copy that and search this person again on Astral. I'll paste that in and search. And here we go. This would be that individual there. There's Morpheus. It takes a second to populate, but let's give them a follow. I confirm it with Alby, and there we go. Added to my list of follows, and I'll now see his content. So yeah, those are the various ways that you can add people to follow. Now, posting is relatively simple as well. So I just hit post. And again, this is going to vary depending on the client you're using, but it populates down below. And I'm just going to say, yo, I'm finally making my Nostr tutorial. This part will literally be in the video. Opa. All right. We'll post that. Now, do you want to confirm that with your private key? Yes, I do. All right. So I just posted that, and then it'll go to various relays, seen or not seen, but it is going out to all of these different relays, and then anybody that's following me and is connected to these relays will then see that post. And I can even go over to my profile, and under posts, it'll be the top one that I recently made, and people can begin to interact with that. They can repost it, they can quote it, they can reply to it, they can embed it somewhere. So there's lots of different functionality. And again, it's dependent on the client, what kind of functions and what different things will pop up for individual people. If I go to my notifications, I can already see replies popping up from Tatum, from Derek Ross. Awesome. So there we go. We're already on and we're interacting with people. So you've kind of now been shown the gist of, okay, how do I get an account? How do I interact with Nostr? We will look at other clients later on towards the end, but I want to show you how to verify yourself. So diving deeper into, creating that profile, that public persona for you. If you want to associate it with your Twitter or your Telegram or whatever it may be, and if you want to have one of these NIP05 identifiers, then what do you do? Where do you go? Well, we're going to dive into that next. This is nostrplebs.com, and it is an easy way. A bunch of people have, or a few individuals have put together this website that will host data for you in order to create that easily found identifier. Now, this is different, of course, from giving up full control of your posts and everything. Yes, there's a degree of centralization here in that identifier, the such and such at nostrplebs.com. But basically what you're doing is you're making it easier for people to find your account and follow you. Now, There is a cost to this because they're going to be hosting data for you and everything. But I will say that they posted that 50% of the stuff coming in is being donated to Nostr development, which is kind of cool. So how does this work? And I should add the caveat that technically speaking, you can go and if you own a domain and you know how to get into the file system there and create a JSON file and everything, you can actually host this stuff yourself. But I'm not getting into kind of like the more technical stuff yet. I just kind of want a basic understanding of people how to do this kind of thing with minimal requirements. So this is going to cost you probably like 10 or 12,000 sats. So here's what we're doing. It says, why get an identifier on Nostr Plebs? So this is a NIP05 ID and a Nostr services provider built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Nostr Plebs instantly groups your profile among other users, allowing new Nostr users to easily find you and make you identifiable. Just type @Nostr Plebs in your Nostr client and you'll immediately see all the Nostr Plebs users, or go to our directory, which you can then see other people that have used the service as well. Besides the registration, they do offer things like Lightning address support and more planned features to come. You can dive into that. Right now, I'm just interested in getting that identifier. Now, I've created, I already have one on my other account, but I've created a dummy account, which anybody watching this, I will show the private keys for this. So I guess the idea is maybe you'll be able to go in and access this and post as you please and do whatever you want with it afterwards. So what I'd love to see actually is the people that do watch this and they do make note of the private key, if you feel like writing it out and pasting it in somewhere, go in and just post, hey, I just watch my daily session, or whatever you want to say, something along those lines. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. Nonetheless, so you scroll down, there's a clickable link to register. Okay, so I click that. It says, okay, you're going to pick a name to register. I'm going to just call it my daily session. Okay, yeah, 12,500 sats. Okay, great. And then it needs a public key. So I went over to this Brandley, I'm not sure. Anyways, it's another Nostr client, a very bare bones one, just simple. And I set up this, called it my daily session. And I just said dummy account for BTC sessions tutorial. Now we can go and we'll go to settings. And down at the bottom, we're going to hit view your keys. So here's the private key. So if anybody wants to go, there it is in its entirety. I know it starts with a 5, 9, and then it ends in a 3F. So if you want to pause this and try and write that down and try and make some posts later, be my guest. But what I'm interested in is the public key. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to jump back over to Nostr Plebs. I'm going to paste that in. Okay. It says, warning, make sure you're putting in your public key and not your private key. Let's double check that. Sure is. Okay. And at this point, we're going to hit next. Okay, it says, pay this invoice to register my daily session at nostrplebs.com. And so at this point, we can actually, this is the fun part, we've got the Alby extension installed. So I can actually click on this. It'll bring up Alby automatically, know that it's wanted to make a payment, and I'm going to hit pay now. All right, there we go. You have successfully registered my daily session at nostrplebs.com. To activate it, go to your client settings or profile editor and set your NIP05 identifier to the one shown above. All right, so we'll just copy that, my daily session at nostrplebs. So we'll just jump over here. I'll close this. And every client that I've used has the option for a NIP05 identifier. So I'm just going to put in my daily session at nostrplebs.com and I'll hit save. And that should be okay as far as I know. All right, I'll hit home. This is my test account for the tutorial. I'll publish that. All right. Okay, so that has been posted to Nostr. All right, and into different clients. So maybe just to double check, maybe I could search my daily session at nostrplebs.com. There it is. All right, on a different client. And maybe I'll just give that a follow because, and I'll confirm with Alby. Give that a follow. I'll see what you guys say later. If anybody takes the time to actually write out that private key and access the account, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Nonetheless, let's look one more time back at Nostr Plebs. So it says, hey, one last thing. Please store your password right here. I guess that's out in the open as well. Securely, you will need to manage your NIP05 identifier at nostrplebs.com/manage. Yeah, so then you can basically get in and change it to whatever. I mean, I'm happy to make the donation to the to development in and around Nostr. So yeah, do with this what you will. It's all out in the open right here. So there you go. Nonetheless, I'm actually not going to save this. I'm not going to use this particular account again. Those sats are going to a good cause, so I'll leave that there. But that is how you register with nostrplebs.com. I'm sure there will be more services in the future. And then, of course, there are ways to host this data yourself if you own a domain name. Again, we're not covering that here, but just know that it is possible. You don't need to rely on third parties in any instance. But kudos to the people that put this together. Now, another thing that you can do, you don't have to, but you can, is you can verify yourself as the same person that runs a particular Twitter handle or runs a particular Telegram handle or even a, what's it? I can't even remember what it's called because I don't use it. But you can actually verify yourself on Mastodon as well. But basically a way of people checking like, is this just somebody who's squatting on an account name or is it actually the individual that I think it is? So nostr.directory, you can go here and it gives some really simple directions here. So you get your Twitter handle at nostr.directory so people can look you up. You can see down below, these are popular accounts. So you can see, you know, there's Press and Pish and it'll show like, is this person verified? So here's Jack Dorsey. So let's take a look at his profile here. So he has signed their Twitter handle with their Nostr private key. He hasn't done it with Telegram or Mastodon. He doesn't have a NIP05 identifier yet. And he hasn't done the donation to Nostr directory, but he's done the single step. And you can see his NPub and his profile, so on and so forth. Okay, wonderful. Let's take a look at somebody else who's actually been verified as well. Okay, so here's a different one. Here's Jameson Lopp, and he signed it with their Twitter handle, and he does have a NIP05 identifier, which is Lopp at www.lopp.net. So he's hosting this data himself. Interesting. Awesome. So yeah, you can look up people by Twitter screen name, by pub key, by NPub, like by whatever identifier you see fit, and look up and see what steps they've done to actually verify themselves. Let's see what Odell's done here. So he's done Twitter. He does have a NIP05 identifier as well, hosted at werunbtc.com. Awesome. Okay. So this is what will show up and how people will be able to verify you. How do you actually get to this point? Well, you can, up here for Twitter, you click and it says tweet your Nostr public key. And so this is where you would paste your public key here. Where do you get that? Well, go to Astral if you're using that. Go to settings and go to view your keys. There's your public key, NPub right there. Alternatively, up here in the left-hand side, NPub is right there, okay? So if I click on that, I can actually click on the NPub, and I believe it should copy that. Copy the pub key. That's right. Okay, so you can see copied npub1. And so then I can go over to, where was it? Right here. It auto puts together a tweet, and you literally just paste it in right there. Okay, and then you would tweet that out. Now, I've already done that. So I've done that first step. And then what was the other step over on here? You verify your pub key on Nostr. So it says verify your pub key on Nostr. You would type in your Twitter screen name. Okay. And then you would copy the verification text. All right. So that copies. And then you would sign with the extension. Okay. So it allows you to read your public key, so on and so forth. So what would you do here? You go to, say, Astral. You would make a post. You would paste in what you just created there, and you would send it out. And then that's that. And so once you do that, and it, you'll sign it with your extension when you're on Astral. So again, if I hit this send button, it'll bring up Alby and say, hey, do you want to sign this? Yes, I do. And that is that. And then at that point, you will be verified here, at least as far as it comes to Twitter. You can do the same types of steps with your Mastodon, with your Telegram. So I'll just search myself here. Okay, so here's me. So you can check what you've done so far. So it'll tell you what the expectations were in order to get that verification. So on Telegram, it says I've got to join the Telegram group. I've got to post and verify my, I have to post this, verifying my public key, and then I would paste in the public key. Little note, if you paste it in and the first letter or number, if the first letter, the npub, is capitalized, it won't register. So make sure it's lowercase. That was my experience anyways. And then it'll auto reply to your message and provide you with your verification string. Copy the verification string and publish it on Nostr as a public note. And it should look like the following. Okay, so it'll say like npub is verifying my public key for Telegram. And then it'll have your Telegram screen name. So we can actually see this on mine. Let's just go to my page. Shouldn't take too long to scroll down and see that. Okay, right here. So here's the post, verifying my public key for Telegram BTC sessions, and it has a string of digits. Basically, it scrubs Nostr for that information and checks my profile to see if it lines up. And if so, then on this page, it will show as verified. Now, I don't use Mastodon, so I didn't go through that. It will auto detect if you have a NIPO5 identifier, so you don't need to do anything else other than just have one associated with your npub. And then you can do a little donation to Nostr directory. And yeah, that's pretty much that. It'll also show what relays you're connected to, and those do transfer across whatever you are using. So whatever client you're using, it will be the same. But more or less, at this point, if you go through all of these steps, then you should have something like this where it says, hey, here's the NIPO5 identifier, there's your npub, you have a picture, you have a screen name. And yeah, all of that will be detailed here. So I did want to say also, if it doesn't auto-populate because you're utilizing Alby, you can actually add in your Lightning address from Alby here to be able to receive tips. So here I just typed in btcsessions@getalby.com, which if I click up here, it's listed right up top, btcsession@getalby.com. So people will be able to then easily send you tips via Nostr. So at this point, I'll just hit save. It'll ask me to confirm that. And there we go. So now I believe in my feed, if somebody goes to me, oh yeah, there we go. So it's auto-filled there. I can now see it up top. And now all of my posts, you can see there's a little tip with Bitcoin Lightning Network. Furthermore, in the settings, you can actually set your tip presets as well. So you can turn on Lightning tips with this little toggle switch. You can also turn on one-click tip. And so there'll be drop downs and everything, so it's more automated. Otherwise, it would just go through the regular regular flow. So I'm actually going to turn on the one-click tip. So the default tip amount will be 10 sats. Okay, so I'll just hit save, and that should be good. Okay, so I'll go back to my feed. Let's just show really quick. Let's see, what do I want to actually send a tip for? Okay, so here's Count Satchula and reviewing some tomes in my Nostry today, like a purple wizard. How about you? And yeah, awesome little image here. So I'm going to do a little tip. It says, hey, 10 sats. Is that okay? Pay now? Yes. All right, awesome. 10 sats sent there. Now that's a preset. If I didn't have that set to 10 sats, I could, it would take me to Alby and then it would have me manually put in an amount. Okay, so as long as you know, have that preset to whatever you like. And yeah, that's it. There's our interaction with Astral.ninja. There's our interaction with setting everything up and confirming it, and basically kind of making our profile nice and beefy and set up fully so that we're verified and ready to go. Now, one other thing in regards to Lightning I want to show is that you can actually drop a Lightning invoice within Nostr and get it paid quite easily. So with my Alby extension, I'm just gonna click and drop down back out of where we are right now. But if I hit receive, and let's say I would like 69 sats, which is around a penny. And then we'll just call it Nostr tutorial. I'll create an invoice, and then I'm gonna copy it. And then I'm gonna do a post. I'll say, hey, just showing this for the tutorial. Anyone wanna pitch me 69 sats? And then I will paste in the Lightning invoice just below. And then down below, I can paste in the Lightning invoice. And now if it shows as being too short, you can switch between short form and long form. And if I hit long form, then it shouldn't be an issue. And maybe I'll just put something above. Yo, this is for my tutorial. And then I'll send that and confirm it. And there we go. So this is how it shows up in the actual feed. It actually shows as a Lightning invoice separated out. It gives a description, the amount, when it was created, the time, when it expires, the time it expires. It can show as a QR code. It can show as just text, which you can then copy. Or you can go to wallet and you select a wallet, drop down, and you have all these different options, or browser extension, which would then open up Alby for me.
A few moments later.
All right, and just jumped ahead of about a minute or so. Somebody already snapped it up. Looks like paid by Mads. Thank you, Mads. Very nice of you. And how do I know? Well, let's go over. I mean, if I go to my actual profile on my posts, it will still show the Lightning invoice. So it still shows as normal, but because it's a specific invoice, once somebody has paid it, it's marked as paid. You can't pay it a second time. But if I go over to my Alby here, back out of this, and we don't want outgoing, we want incoming. And we can see there's 69 sats for Nostr tutorial, the one that I had just set up. That invoice has now been paid. So fantastic. So really kind of cool interface with the integration with the Lightning invoices and how it shows natively in the feed as such and can be easily scanned or paid directly from my browser. So I could scan this with a Lightning wallet on my phone here, just looking at the screen, but I can also use my browser plugin to do so, or open a wallet that's on my computer or whatever I'm using just through the dropdown, which is super awesome. So yeah, I love the Lightning integration here. Works so beautifully with Nostr across various clients. I just want to really quickly kind of show you guys some options in terms of other clients. I'm using Astral.Ninja, of course, in my browser, but there are other options out there. So another browser client would be Iris, and actually you can save this on your phone as like a web app, save an icon for it. But same kind of idea. You have your feed here, and between following and global, so you can see like the latest from everybody. You have your relays up here in the top. You have, if you go over to your profile, you see all your details and everything like that. And within your settings, you can change anything in and around your Nostr public key and your profile and how you interact with it. If you are on iOS, Damus, from what I hear, is probably the best client out there at the moment. It's very clean, very well done. I am not, unfortunately, on iOS for my phone. In this instance, I'm saying unfortunately. I do have an iPad, but also it's in closed beta. So if you haven't yet been added, then to test flight to try it out, you're going to have to wait until it's approved in the App Store or until they add more people from the wait list. So that's kind of where we're at with that, but it is an option for mobile on iOS. For Android, this is the one that I've got right now called Nostros. And so the way it works is you would go to the GitHub and you can, where would it be? You go to releases over here on the right, which will look a little bit different on your phone, but nonetheless, you're going to go there, and then they will give you an option to download right here. It is actually downloading a file to install onto your mobile device. It's not going to be from the App Store currently. Now, the interesting part here is that this will involve some pasting of private keys. So again, as you're testing out, maybe not bad, but yeah, just be aware. And I'll try and show you here really quick. The feed is, again, pretty simple. You've got your home, you've got any notifications, you've got private messages, you've got your profile. These are all tabs down along the bottom here. And yeah, it's, yeah, more or less like a little Twitter feed. So yeah, those are options that you can use for mobile and with your browser. And then a pretty good resource that's kind of showing everything that's up and coming with Nostr, Nostr.net. And you can scroll down, and you can see different stuff around protocol, relays, instances, and in particular, clients. There's a ton. These are all different clients that you can use with Nostr. And people are just kind of building and playing and seeing what's available out there. Yeah, so feel free to go and look through all the stuff that's being built. It has a little description of each thing. You can click on it and then kind of find what you need from this particular page. But with that, we're going to move on. And the last stop we're going to make is in and around relays. Just a little bit anyways. Okay, so relays. There's a lot of different ways you can run a relay. Right now, there is no direct monetary incentive to do so. You will be hosting the data from Nostr, from various individuals and public/private keys. However, there are the beginning inklings of incentivizing that. So again, on the Nostr.net website under relays, there is one called expensive relay, a relay that requires payment for registration, and that would be done obviously via Lightning payments. So you're going to see more of that kind of pop up eventually. Right now, not really necessary for an individual to pay for a relay, but in the future, perhaps it might be, a few sats to host basic messages or more if you're actually hosting images and videos and stuff like that. Of course, that's going to take up space. Now, a lot of the implementations and ways of running relays here on Nostr.net require a little bit more knowledge in and around network infrastructure and being able to host this type of thing. However, I want to show an easy option that I wouldn't say you want to do this right now, but this is what you're going to kind of see in the future as easy options for this. And this is hosted via something like a Start9 embassy. So Start9, they do have a beta registry of applications. And they actually do, and you can see it right here, have a Nostr relay that is listed in the beta registry. So I'm going to show you how to access this. I will add here, though, before we get into this, the beta stuff, and Matt Hill of Start9 has told me as much. The beta stuff is there for a reason. It's in beta for a reason. There could be bugs, there could be problems, and those bugs and vulnerabilities and things like that could not just be contained within that individual app. It could affect other applications. So if you have a large amount of funds sitting on your Start9 embassy, via Lightning nodes or whatever it may be, perhaps reconsider. But just know that, if you're testing this out, there could be some risks. Also, I will say that with the Nostr relay that I have going, I wouldn't necessarily recommend connecting to it. I don't think I'm going to keep it for now, but I did want to at least be able to show and demo what the deal is. So first, how do we get to download this? Because if you go to the marketplace and you look up anything in data or social or anything like that, it doesn't show anything. You can't, if you go through all, you're not going to see it. However, right here where it says Start9 registry, you hit change, and then you can hit add custom registry. And then when you do that, you will put up a URL in here and you're going to hit save and connect. Now, the registry is beta-registry.start9.com. and HTTPS in front of that, and then you will connect to it. At any time, you can go back to the regular registry, but if I click on beta and connect, it will swap and change to the beta registry. So I'm just connected to this one now. I'll X out of that, and now there's a tab for social, which shows there's Mastodon in there, but there's the Nostr relay and Hamster, which is a Nostr client. So you can actually run both of those. If I click on the Nostr relay, it says initial release of Nostr RS relay for Embassy OS. It's written in Rust. It currently supports the entire relay protocol. So basically, all you do is you click on it, you install it. It takes a few seconds, and then it will be listed under your services. Similar with Hamster, a Twitter-style Nostr client. Initial release for Embassy OS. It is still in beta, so be careful. And it's a Twitter-style Nostr client that works with your self-hosted Tor relay. It is a fork of Astral, the one we were using earlier, which itself started as a fork of Brainly. Or Brainly. I don't know how to say that yet. Nonetheless, I've installed both of these. I can see them both sitting here in my services. So with the Nostr relay, how do you even utilize it? How's it work? Well, the Nostr relay here, if we click on it and we go to instructions, it says, okay, to use your relay, go into properties, copy the relay WebSocket URL and paste it into a Nostr client that supports Tor relays, including Hamster on Embassy OS. Okay, so properties right here, Here's the relay WebSocket. So there's a copy button. I can just copy it right here. Simple. All right. Now, I can paste that in any client that I like, as long as it supports Tor connections. That's not all of them. Okay, so some of them it just won't work with. But let's take a look at Hamster. So I've installed this as well. When you do install it, you have to, hit configure, just hit save, and then start the client. But it's running now, and I can launch the UI here. Okay, so now I have already linked this with my public key for Nostr. Okay, so if I go to my profile here, there we go, and it updated to the new image. So again, this just kind of shows across different clients that all of the updates I make show everywhere. So it just kind of refreshes everything. And there's my latest posts, and everything is all right here. Same as usual. There's my main feed, notifications, messages, profile, from posts, follows, followers, relays, all that kind of stuff. And then in settings, we have relays as an option. Well, hey, I can hit edit, and I've already added it here, this one right here. But I would just hit add relay. I would paste it in. I would hit the plus button, and then it would show up here, which we can say this is one and the same. And yeah, that's active and ready to go. So that's it. It's now using my own relay to host the data and the people that I follow, or anybody that connects with that particular relay. So yeah, that's it. You run it, you go to your client, you paste in your relay, and then that will be utilized amongst other relays to host data for Nostr. So I love the idea that people, again, in the kind of mode of self-sovereign computing, will be able to download a simple application for a piece of hardware that they have, and just have it running and host the data that they want, and potentially earn sats for doing so. So all in all, simple to do on something like the Embassy, but still in beta. So be cautious. If you must tinker, then this is how you do it. This is how you get to access it in the marketplace. By the way, afterwards, make sure you do change back to the regular Start9 registry and hit connect. And then you'll be back where you started here. And again, I'm probably not going to keep Jam, or sorry, not Jam. I'm probably not going to keep the Nostr relay here up and running. Just again, finite resources with the Embassy that I have running right now, and I don't want a ton of data loaded up on it. But just for experimentation's sake, I thought it was cool to play around, and if you see fit, you can do so too. Or if you prefer, if you want to be safe, then wait until this gets out of beta and hits the main marketplace here, and then you'll probably be in better shape. But nonetheless, that's how you can run a relay. And I imagine you're going to start seeing this pop up as an option on plenty of other node implementations as well. So I've been seeing the buzz in and around Nostr for a while. I didn't quite know why initially, because I had seen many people on Twitter and other social media platforms not like the way things are run, migrate to other things, only to come back later because everything's not up to snuff. Even with the instance of Mastodon, everybody went over there and said, oh, the censorship on Twitter, so on and so forth. But then it was almost the same, if not worse, on Mastodon, because it went from one individual or one group of individuals controlling everything and censoring whatever they please to basically tiny dictators of small groups of people on Mastodon controlling their own instances and banning people and so on and so forth. The exact same, just more localized. With Nostr, that is not the case. So you can post anything. Nobody can stop you from doing so. And anybody that is interested in connecting with you needs to merely follow you and connect to any of the relays that you may be connected to. And if you have trouble with relays, you can host your own relay at any point. The registration, or I guess the getting things like your NIPO5 or confirming that you are who you say you are from Twitter or from Telegram or Mastodon or whatever, those go through websites in some instances that somebody runs, but all of those things can also be done without those, right? Like I didn't need to pay to get my NIPO5 identifier on my public and private key, but I went through the Nostr Plebs website because it was easy to do, and I'm also donating to Nostr development. However, as I said, you can run it yourself, and that's kind of the unique thing in and around Nostr is anybody can run basically all of the infrastructure themselves and not have to trust anyone. And because of that, it leans itself to not being subject to censorship. And that's very, very interesting. The other thing that I like about it is how nimble you are between different clients. And what you see on different clients may differ. What types of content shows up and how you interact with people can change, but your connections remain the same. And so I get the feeling that this is kind of like the next evolution of social interaction online because of how free and open it is, and anybody can build atop it, and the easy integration of payments into it via Bitcoin and Lightning Network. It just opens up a whole world of possibilities. So I definitely am falling down that rabbit hole and recognizing some of the value here and why it's different, and why the old instances of, we'll just create a new platform and we won't censor it, may have been misguided, because if you can censor, there will be censorship in some way, shape, or form at some point. It just matters who's in charge and how altruistic they feel like being. With Nostr, you cannot censor. So we'll see how the internet grapples with that as it develops. But I like the idea. It's very in line with the ethos of Bitcoin, and they didn't need to make a token to make it work. So that was just a fantastic part of it. But that's where I'm at. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think your experiences on Nostr. It's obviously very early. There's going to be things that don't work, that break, that so on and so forth. But I think it's very promising. I look forward to seeing how it develops, and it seems to be moving at breakneck speed. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to dive in, experiment, learn, and let me know how you feel in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, share. All that helps get this content in front of more eyeballs. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below. That was CoinKite, that was Start9, that was HodlHodl, and that was PrivacyPros.io with the Bill Fodl. If you are looking for some more tutorials in a one-on-one setting, maybe the free tutorials on YouTube aren't quite enough and you're trying to wrap your head around various custody issues, lightning, multi-sig, privacy, really anything, you can reach out to me via btcsessions.ca and book your private one-on-one session there. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip. You could do it via Nostr directly to my my Get Alby, BTC Sessions at getalby.com is the Lightning address. Or alternatively, you can use my Strike page. You don't have to have Strike, but head to strike.me/BTC Sessions, type in any amount you want, hit the tip button, you'll see a Lightning invoice, or if you prefer, tap the arrow to the right, you'll see a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.